For centuries, knowledge has been hidden in plain sight across the sands of time. Whispers of lost civilizations, cryptic symbols, and forbidden histories have been erased or concealed. What if the truth was never lost, but hidden? Welcome to Eye of Ancient Mysteries, where the past speaks and the future listens. Sit back, open your mind, and prepare to uncover the untold secrets of our world. Let the journey begin now. The ukulele, the room was smoky and stung my eyes. Droplets of moisture trickled down the ajar window. The wood in the stove hissed and crackled, but the weak fire didn't warm the room. Herbal tea boiled in a colorful tin mug on the stove. The lamp cast a yellowish glow, and outside, darkness was falling. I sat on a three-legged stool, playing with a toy bus. I traced imaginary highways in the air and loaded plastic soldiers on its roof. They kept falling off, and I tried to hold them all with my little hands. When I couldn't, I got upset, cried in frustration, threw them to the floor, and coughed with a wheeze from the smoke. It was around Christmas. That morning, I had gotten my gifts from Grandma and some relatives. Just the usual boring socks and sweaters, a plush bear, and some bowls and mugs with the Ninja Turtles. Sure, I was a fan of the cartoon, but I wanted a katana sword, even a tin one like the heroes used in their battles. From my parents, I got a black karat belt, except I didn't go to karat, and a face mask with eye holes. They didn't believe in violence. But they're heroes, I said. They fight for good, they defeat villains. If they can't fight, how can they protect the city? You know what they told me. The end doesn't justify the means. They should have found a peaceful way. And they even grounded me from watching TV for 2 weeks, so I missed all my shows. When the winter break started, they left me with Grandma in the village, and my gifts arrived by courier. No letter, no card, no phone call. Maybe they called Grandma, but she didn't tell me. Not that I saw her much. She was always in the garden. She left me to watch the dough rise for the holiday bread. "Because you're a hero," she said. There she was. I heard her shuffling in her galoshes, talking loudly to someone. She's hard of hearing. A deep male voice answered her, and they laughed. The door to the house opened. I stared in that direction. Grandma Marta took off her shoes, slipped on slippers over her wool socks, and handed a pair of house slippers to the old man. He carried a bucket of firewood and set it by the stove. He bent over with his back to me and stirred the embers. He had a bald head with tufts of white hair around his ears. He wore a threadbare tracksuit, a knitted vest, and a purple jacket with torn pockets. On the floor, I spotted a long package wrapped in car-themed paper. My eyes locked onto it. More presents for me. The old man placed a log in the stove, sat on the bed with legs apart, and pulled the package toward him. "Do you know what this is, kid? Guess it right, and it's yours. And if I don't want it, just another boring gift I don't need." "Bravo, you guessed it!" The old man laughed and tore off the wrapping paper. Wasn't I supposed to do that? If it was for me. Inside was a wooden case that looked like a coffin, complete with an engraved cross. Now that was new. People didn't usually give kids things like this. My eyes widened. Isn't he too young for this? Grandma's voice grew thin. She coughed and rushed to open the window wide. The old man gave me a firm look and nudged the gift toward me. He's not too young. Evil doesn't ask if you're ready. It attacks. And if you don't have balls in your pants, Tanyo? Grandma snapped and sat next to him. She pointed a thumb at him. This is my brother Stan. He lives in Samuelovo, so I don't see him often, even though it's less than an hour by bus. They did look alike. Light eyes, a big round nose, and the same smile. But while Marta wore dentures, Uncle Stan grinned broadly with 6 yellowed teeth. He hugged his sister and kissed her on the forehead. He whispered something to her. I didn't catch it. She nodded, wiped her eyes, and leaned her head on his shoulder. So, who's older? I asked the usual question for relatives. He is. He always protected me, Grandma said and nudged him in the ribs. Go on, open it. Stan nodded to me. I was expecting a vampire hunting kit or at least a toy gun. With trembling fingers, I pushed the latch open and... a ukulele. I squeaked and tossed the instrument aside. It clanged from the impact. I crossed my arms and frowned. My cheeks burned with anger, but I didn't run away. Mom taught me to show my emotions and read others. She called it empathy. Mine extended to hugging her when she was sad and offering her a candy. That's not just any ukulele, Grandma began. It's been passed down in our family for generations. It has a long history. During the Ottoman times, a trader brought it to Bulgaria, but no one wanted to buy it, so he kept it. He's our ancestor, from grandfather to grandson, always to the strongest, the wisest, the most resilient. To protect us? Protect us from what? How can a musical instrument be a weapon? What? I play a little tune and the bad guys die of boredom or worse, from laughter. I raised an eyebrow. There are forces invisible to our world, Uncle Stan said with a cough. Creatures that whisper dark thoughts into people's heads and control them. They feed off their energy. Sometimes they merge with people, take on human form to do evil. We drive them out with the ukulele. It disturbs their minds, crushes their thoughts, messes up their communication. Why at Christmas? I raised my eyebrows again, because that's when the Son of God was born. Then God is most inclined to do good. Then He's strongest against the creatures of darkness. How does the ukulele work? I hesitantly nudged it. It rang again. There's one melody, short, I'll teach you. You must play it every Christmas for exactly 8 minutes. I know it'll be hard at first to endure such power, but you must. And the rest of the time I can strum whatever I want, right? I plucked a string. It made a pitiful sound and resonated under my fingers. I'd never been into instruments, but if this one was magical, I'd study it. You won't want to play it. You'll avoid it, toss it aside. But at least on Christmas, you must gather all your strength, all your will and discipline and play. Grandma said, hand it to me. Watch my fingers. Uncle Stan reached out. I handed him the ukulele like it was a sacred sword, arms outstretched, head bowed. Once you play it, you merge with the instrument. You'll hear the creatures. You'll see them. But they'll see and hear you too. That's why we play alone in silence, to protect our loved ones. Remember that. And never, never lose it. You'll lose part of your soul. Grandma said, stood up, ruffled my hair, grabbed the wood bucket, and left. I stared wide-eyed at Stan, trembling with anticipation. He tilted his head back, closed his eyes, and plucked the lowest string. A grating, screeching sound emerged. He let it resonate. It pierced my mind, burrowing deep. When I opened my mouth to stop him, he plucked 2 more strings. It wasn't pain. It was irritation. Like fingernails on a chalkboard, metal scraping pavement, gulls screeching. I squirmed. I followed his fingers. Slowly at first, then faster, louder. The sound crashed against the walls, and just as it started to fade, relief just within reach, he launched into a rapid melody more terrifying than before. Stan trembled. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. Tears fell from his eyes. But he kept playing. Oh, how terribly he played, and didn't stop. I sat on my hands to keep from yanking the instrument away. I knew it was some ritual, a rite of passage, but my child's mind refused to accept that someone would hurt themselves like this to pass on this thing. I couldn't call it good. Something unknown, something never heard before. And I wished it had stayed that way, because I wasn't ready for this burden. Eventually, his hands gave out, his head drooped, and his body collapsed sideways. Blood splashed my cheek. I burst into sobs. I grabbed the ukulele and flung it away. It burned. Stan's hands were cold. I shook his body. Why did I have to lose someone I had just found? Grandma burst in, her face red and eyes swollen. She pulled me close and stroked my hair. What a selfish brat I was. I lost a stranger? She lost a brother! This is how it had to be. It's the ritual. Cry. You're now initiated. She handed me the ukulele. I accepted it reluctantly. Always carry it with you. When you need to clear your mind, play. When you're scared, play. When you have no strength, play. But the sacred melody, only on Christmas. It's a test of your resilience, your loyalty. And one day pass the ukulele to your grandchildren. Sophia 2024, it was Christmas after 6 p.m. I was playing video games with my 2 boys. The little one sat at my feet, leaning on the couch. The older one sat cross-legged beside me. We laughed, hyped each other up, whined, and celebrated. It was a rare moment of joy in our house. Usually I felt hopeless, didn't want to get out of bed, neglected myself, unshaven, with a hairy neck. I felt like crying all the time. Things with my wife weren't going well. Always friction, ultimatums. In my mind, a voice buzzed like an alarm, play the ukulele. Everything will get better, you'll feel better. I ignored it. I hated that ukulele. I hated that it killed my grandfather. I hated that no matter how hard I tried to tune it, it only made ugly sounds. It was just broken. I never dared take it to a luthier. I was responsible for playing it. It was entrusted to me. And I strictly played it every Christmas. but I didn't want to see it, touch it, hear it. Grandma had been right about that. The worst part came when I started hearing voices and had to go on medication. I lost my job, my peace, my sleep, and Marta had passed long ago. No one left to tell me what to do or how to fix it. I knew what she would have said: play when you're sad, play when you're weak, play when you're drained. But I feared something worse, that I was unworthy, a failure, too weak for such responsibility. I was terrified that one day I'd have to pass the ukulele to my grandson and die, that he'd watch me die like I watched Stan. I'd traumatize him. The melody was etched into my mind. I heard it in half sleep, and Grandpa's face haunted my nightmares for years. But I played. I didn't know what would happen if I skipped a year. But I knew one thing: Stan's death would have been in vain. Well, your dad has to head to the basement for a little playing. I groaned, stood, and stretched. My back ached. I braced it and walked to the dining room door, slipped through the kitchen where Jana was cooking, buried my nose in her neck, and breathed in the jasmine perfume. I stroked her blonde hair and whispered, "You know how much I love you. If you loved me, you wouldn't lock yourself in the garage every Christmas and cry alone. That ukulele is evil. It's killing you, hurting you, making you suffer. And you keep playing." She jabbed a finger into my chest. Her eyes were full of pity. My little empath. Come on. I haven't played in a while. Half a year, maybe. I spread my arms. And you feel better, right? Right? She asked as I turned my back. I didn't answer. She hugged me and rested her head on my shoulder. I just don't want you to relapse. You're finally making progress in therapy, taking your meds. If we have to increase the dose again, you might not be fit for. Fit for what? You see, I'm half a man, just drifting in the void. I have nothing. You have a beautiful family. 2 boys who need their father, a role model. My wife insisted. At the last moment, I squeezed my eyes shut and threw my head back. I spun on my heel and headed for the exit of our apartment. I kept the ukulele in the basement, far enough away so I wouldn't be tempted to reach for it. I was supposed to rely on myself and medicine to feel better. That's what everyone said. My wife, the doctors. Yeah, well, I felt best after playing and worst while playing. Every second was agony then. I walked down the stairs, pulled the key from my pocket, unlocked the padlock, turned on the light, and stepped into my annual torment. The light was weak, yellowish, and flickering with a hiss. I entered the room where we stored our belongings and started rummaging. I usually kept it in plain sight, on the counter covered in chewing gum stickers, where we used to make crafts with the kids during past summers. I overturned boxes, searched behind old car tires, tool cases, and toys my sons had outgrown. It wasn't there. I ran my fingers through my hair. Panic set in. I was suffocating. My chest tightened. I doubled over. I felt nauseous. I slumped to the floor against the wall and rubbed my forehead. Where could it be? I dashed up the stairs. I didn't even bother to lock up. There was nothing valuable left in the basement for me. I burst into the apartment and headed straight for the kitchen. My wife was arranging salads, counting dishes, and occasionally peeking into the oven. "Take the platter with pickles, ham, and blue cheese, please," she said without looking at me. "Oh, and the bread." She shoved it into my hands and kissed me on the cheek. "Where's my ukulele?" I frowned. I was shaking with anger that I couldn't find it. "Isn't it in the basement? It must have been left at the country house when we moved. So much stuff. The whole summer vacation, you know how it is. You can't keep track of everything. Come on, Lyuban, go look for your ukulele." I growled at myself. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. Jana scurried after me. The kids peeked out too. "It's Christmas. You can't leave the kids alone. They're with you, aren't they? If you walk out that door, it'll stay locked for you." Jana called out. "You don't understand. I need it. I have to play it." I clenched my fists. I was torn inside. A voice in my head asked, "Is one broken ukulele worth losing your family over? And what kind of family do I have if they don't support me?" I'd never missed a Christmas without playing. I didn't know what evil creatures I was protecting the world from, but I knew I didn't want to release them. I didn't want evil to win. I'm a hero, right? And heroes sometimes make sacrifices. I grabbed my jacket, kissed my sons on the forehead, and left. "Where's Daddy going?" my youngest asked. "Somewhere he won't return from." My wife's words struck deep, embedding themselves in my mind and haunting me along the way. I was going to return, to make things right, but first I had to get the ukulele. It was nearing 8 p.m. I had 4 hours until midnight. If I took the highway, I could reach Kovachite hopefully in time. Usually the trip took about 5 hours, and I hated traveling at night. I hated playing the ukulele more. So I got in the car and set off to fulfill my duty to my lineage and humanity. As I drove, I pondered where I might have misplaced it. In the attic, under the bed. Grandma used to stash a lot of stuff there, and I'd picked up the habit. Maybe in some cupboard, a trunk. I was about to waste more time searching for a lost musical instrument when I could have just asked Jana where she last saw it. Instead of fighting like this, tears blurred my vision. Scenes from our life together flashed in my mind. Eating ice cream in the park, her resting her head on my shoulder at the movies, giving her flowers for March 8th. Our first kiss on Valentine's Day. Our first night together on that trip to Venice. How she cuddled me at night so I'd fall asleep faster. Me holding my newborn son, crying from joy. Crying because my child would inherit the ukulele. I had to live long enough to pass it on. I had to find it. Time flew as I raced down the highway. I didn't care about the speed limit. This was a matter of life and death. If not literally, then symbolically. It would be tragic to keep this tradition alive only to lose my family over it. I gripped the wheel. I wrestled with the urge to turn around, to embrace my wife, to tell her I was sorry, that I'd never play the damn ukulele again, that I'd be obedient. For a moment, I pictured Grandpa Stan, bloodied mouth whispering, "You must continue. You must!" I squeezed my eyes shut to chase away the tears and turned on the radio to distract myself. I only stopped once, for gas. It was 10:30 p.m. I hadn't checked the time since, afraid I was already too late. I focused on the road. Thought I glimpsed a fox crossing. There were many roadkill animals. Fog lay low over the asphalt. At least there wasn't any snow. Trees cast eerie shadows and frightening patterns, as if they were stretching their branches toward me, as if they were moving closer. A single guardrail separated us, a thin line between rationality and imagination. "I draw the line." I whispered the psychiatrist's words. As I neared Sliven, I perked up, grinned, bit my lip. I bypassed the town and headed toward Kovachite, Grandma's village. What would I find at the house? I hadn't been there in half a year. A weight pressed on my chest, as if I might arrive to find a crater, that it had vanished, or that vegetation had swallowed it, that I'd lose it too, like I lost the ukulele, like I lost my family. I parked in front of the overgrown yard of Grandma's house. I rushed to the door, unlocked it with trembling hands, and flipped on the lights. A stench hit me of must, mold, and rot. Probably some dead rats in the cellar, wedged between floorboards. Jana used to set poison for them, but it was my job to fetch and bury them in the garden. We even had a ritual, a mock funeral, saying a few words to calm the rat's soul and ease our own guilt for killing it. I began searching under the beds, in trunks and cupboards. It wasn't there. I was too scared to go up to the attic at that hour. I pulled out my phone and let out a cry. It was 1 a.m. I had failed, and now I would have to face the consequences. I called Jana. She picked up quickly. "Hello." "Lubin, did you find the ukulele?" she asked. Her voice was somehow strong, but also sleepy. "No, I failed. I looked everywhere, except the attic. Do you know where it is? I sold it. I sold it 5 months ago online. It's not here. Why? Why didn't you tell me from the start?" I sobbed. "I wanted to test your love. Now I know how much you love me." Her voice now seemed to blend with others. Whispering, screaming, hissing voices, some of them inhuman. "You don't know what's going to happen. It will—" I began and rubbed my forehead. "Even I didn't know. Forget me. Forget the kids. Forget where you are. Why you left. Forget the ukulele, its story. Forget who you are, who your relatives are. Go out to the road and wait for the ambulance with the psychiatrists." I called them. This time her voice changed, became guttural, growling, beastly, heavy with power. Jana wasn't human. "Who is Jana?" "Yes, mistress." I bowed my head and walked to the door. "Very good. Your mission is complete." She laughed sweetly and hung up. I stood frozen, waiting. An ambulance appeared. Men with straps and protective suits jumped out. I didn't resist when they nudged me toward the vehicle, nor when they put on the straitjacket, nor when they injected the sedative. I vaguely wondered why the darkness around their bodies was thicker, why they grinned showing sharp teeth, and why their eyes glowed red. I had no answers. I didn't know why I was there with them, but I knew one thing: I had to stay. My mission was complete.